I just want to go ahead and do a quick video. I hope everyone is having a great day today. Today is pretty decent day. So I want to go ahead and get started with this video. Not gonna spend too much time on advertising. I'm gonna try to leave it in the description box. Um, I want to go ahead and say right now why it's on my mind. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and if the video is really good, like it and share it with others. This will help the video reach more people when you like the video, so it would be presented more as a recommended on other people recommended feed. So like the video. The second thing I want to go ahead and put out a disclaimer. I always put a disclaimer out because I don't believe one person holds all the keys or all the answers to everything in life. We all have something to contribute. Um, Keep what resonate. I don't know the answers, but what I gather, I share. So I don't consider myself a teacher to anyone, but I do share the information that I get from my own experiences, the downloads I receive, and for what I have studied. And so I want to go ahead and share the information I have with you. It may help you. I believe this has been something that has been held over our heads. And so this has been an enlightenment for me. And so I want to share it with others. And so I'm doing that right now. But like I said, keep what resonates. And so this video is going to be dealing with the type of beings that we are. I'm not going into detail talking about extraterrestrials, if you're a Syrian, Anunnaki, and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the core of who you are, what make you tick, okay? And because a lot of times we have been fooled. All of us have fell for the okie dokie, all of us. And so this is what we've been fighting against within ourselves. This is what has been causing the conflict within ourselves. Okay, and so I want to go ahead and start with this picture first, dealing with the conscious. The conscious is only 10% of our whole being. The subconscious takes up 50 to 60% of who we are, and the unconscious. This is where you tap in through the subconscious. Is like a door that leads to the unconscious, which takes up 30 to 40%. So we looking at this right now. The conscious mind literally takes up only 10%. The conscious mind deals with this reality. It helps us to relate and to operate in this reality. The unconscious deals with the unseen world, the dream world, the world that everyone questioned that does it really exist. The unconscious realm deals with the quantum realm, okay, deals with the quantum world and the spirit world. So that takes up 30 to 40%. The 50% of us, 50 to 60%, is the subconscious. The subconscious is the doorway between both worlds, okay? And so the subconscious is what is being programmed. And this determines how we see the world through our conscious mind and how we see the world with our unconscious mind. And so this is why it's so important to concentrate and to really put the effort and the work into our subconscious mind and to reprogram those programs that have kept us bound. And so this is going to deal with the programs that has caused us to try, that has created this mass production of the same being. Okay. And so I want to go into that. Let me see. I want to go into this picture. So though it has school, just go ahead and put religion there. Every program we can put there. And the whole purpose of these programs is for mass production of the same being. No diversity, no uniqueness, no individuality. Even this concept of unity consciousness is based on this. Okay, it's based on we all have to do the same thing. We all have to think the same. We all have to move the same. We all have to have the same type of frequency. High frequency is a diversity even in high frequency, because what I would consider high frequency for my being may not be high frequency for another being. And so even this program is even operating in unity consciousness, because It's like we all got to do the same. We all got to be the same. We all got to operate the same. We all have to behave the same. We all have to eat the same. We all have to drink the same. We all have to walk the same. That is not unity consciousness on no level. That is strictly universal man-made way of mass production of the same ideology and concept. Okay, and so this is a form of bondage. I like how the person look like they just there, like they look like they lack identity. They lack a knowing of who they are. Okay, and so this kind of topics that's a thread with me. This is my topics because I have gone through this and I'm fighting my way out of this. My topics will always be in this direction because I know what has been placed on me and so many through religion and how we have been mass produced to operate the same even against our own being. This is where the inner conflict coming at. Because your true person wants to shine, but it can't shine because of all these programs that have been placed upon it to operate the same. And so this is the mass production that has been going on with school. You have to think the same. And I see it even with my children. It's like there's always more than one way to find the answer, but they want you to do it that way they are showing you. They want you to go step by step, and if you miss a step, they take points off. It doesn't matter if the person got to the answer. This is a way of mass production, training everybody's minds to move the same way because there's always more than one way to the answer. A math problem is with a math problem, you can find many ways to find the answer. You don't have to do step by step, but this is how we are trained to think the same. So when somebody thinks different, they're looked at in a weird way. If they think different, they're treated like they're outcasts. And so this is something that has been going on, and this is something that is truly 3D. Okay, 3D reality, because we see it in so many sectors of reality. We see it in all these different sectors. On a job, you see this. In school, you see this. In households, you see this. In churches and whatever religious sector you are part of, you see this. Even in a conscious community, you see this way of we have to all move the same. And it's something that has been programmed in our minds all the way from young. And it really started in school. It started in our households because our parents been trained that way. Then they put us in daycare, and daycare train us to not have diversity in the way we think. It starts off with the mind. That's not even talking about the diversity of people. That's talking about the diversity of the mind. Because our minds are so powerful. It is not just a one way of thinking. And so when a person's mind moves really fast and they can move through different aspects of itself, they say, oh, this person, we got to slow their mind down. Oh, they have ADHD. Oh, they have this. Oh, they have that. No, they don't have none of that. That's their God quality coming through. But because this 3D realm doesn't understand that, because we have been trained to believe in this one God, that we are not all gods, it likes to change that concept and say, well, okay, you're just this. You were created by something more supreme than you. And because of that, you can't think like a God. You can't be a God. You can't operate like a God. There's no way that you came from a God. We have to make you human. And so we're going to program your mind to be just that. Okay? And so it starts off young. And so this concept of we all have to move the same is something that has been geared from our youth. And we still carry that even in the conscious community, even as we are waking up, we carry these same things. Okay? So let's go to the next picture. And so when a person begins to operate in diversity, they start to awaken the divinity. There's something how diversity and divinity, they both start with similar letters. But that divinity begins to come forth. It begins to come through them. Okay? And because of that divinity, it begins to bring forth diversity. And that diversity in a person is what causes that person to stand out. Okay. And so now they're standing out. They're adults now. They're standing out. They may say, well, I don't want to work for somebody else. That's not me. That's not who I am. I feel like I have burdened my true self. I have buried my true self. Or I feel like I have changed on who I am because I have all these different ideas, but I can't move in these ideas on the job. And so they decide to leave their job. And in everybody else's mind, they see that as a threat because they're like, that doesn't make sense. You make good money. We hear the stories all the time on YouTube how people say they leave their six-figure incomes to go start a business, to start over. And in the mind of the 3D mask, that looked like the dumbest thing a person can ever do because you already done made it. You're already making six figures. You're already living the American dream or the so-called American dream. How could you walk away from something like that? And so that person begins to stand out because what happened when they awaken, the divinity in them is actually what awakened them. And the true self begins to come forth. And what the true self sees is not who they are or who he or she is. And so when that true person comes forth, they begin to rebel against the system or rebel against the life they created for itself when they were sleeping. Okay, so that's one form of diversity. One form of being divine, your divinity causing diversity, and then that diversity becoming a threat to everyone around you. And that's on the job. And I bring it to the conscious community. So it's the same thing. And the difference is when I'm talking about the conscious community is when we awaken, even in our awakened state, we want to control what the awakened state look like. So we want to say, oh, no. You can't think like that. You can't be like that. This is high frequency. This is what divinity looks like. This is how divinity is supposed to be. But what we fail to understand that everybody is not the same. It's the same thing with the church. I'm going to go back to the church. I'm going to go back to this picture before the diversity just to show you. Everybody in church is being pumped out mass production. Okay, and these people are being reprogrammed to think the same. They're reprogrammed to think benevolent. They're reprogrammed that this is a benevolent way of thinking. This is a benevolent way of being. This is a benevolent way of walking. This is a benevolent way of doing. Not realizing not everybody is benevolent. They're trying to force everybody to be one way. Okay, and so you got these neutral beings with benevolent tendencies. And I'm going to put out, that's what I am. I'm a neutral being with benevolent tendencies. So you have this neutral being, and the church are full of them. They're not full of malevolent beings unless they come in to cause disruption. But the church is full of neutral beings, and then they have a few benevolence, and the benevolence are the ones that carry the titles and the roles in the church because they can walk that lifestyle without any issues or problems. Whereas a neutral being can't do that. Neutral beings are constantly going up and down, they're falling all over the place and everything. So neutral beings can't do that. Neutral beings can't do that. And so neutral beings have a hard time. Neutral beings are the ones that looked at as they are lukewarm, walking the fence. Neutral beings are the ones that are looked at as they can't get with the program. They have a hard time. I'm sorry, y'all. So neutral beings have a hard time. So neutral beings, they trying to keep up. The Bible is boring to them. They don't find no excitement in the scriptures, really. Neutral beings, they trying to fit into a program that has been given to them. That's how neutral beings operate. And so that's why they always have a hard time. neutral beings always have a hard time. And so neutral beings are given a hard time by the benevolent beings. So you got the pastor in the church, they preaching down at the beings, because in their mind, we all the same, because they have been trained in these schools to believe that we are all sinners, and it is our job to make everybody light. It's our job to make everybody acceptable to God again. It is our job to do these things. That's what the preacher believes. The preacher believes that is their job. Okay, the preacher believes I have to get these people out of the gutter of hell and make them ready for heaven. Okay, and with that mindset, that's what they move on. So they preaching at you, they constantly preaching at you, they constantly preaching at you. And guess what? The neutral beings are fighting within themselves. The neutral beings are the ones that's on the fence. They can't keep up with the benevolent walk because they're not benevolent beings. They're neutral beings with benevolent tendencies, meaning they are kind, they're nice. But if you mess with them, they will mess with you. But on the other hand, if you continually nice to them and you continually show them respect, they will do the same for you. And you would never know that those are neutral beings. Unless they do something, you do something to them, then you say, oh crap, yeah, what's wrong with that person? Because that person was never benevolent. That person was a neutral being with benevolent tendencies. And these are the things we don't know about. And so we're in church, we're in this 3D, everybody in this 3D trying to produce the same person, trying to produce Christ. As they would say, we all Christ. So I'm producing Christ. Christ is benevolent. Christ is this. Christ is that. So he's not, you can't be that. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. Oh no, you can't do that. You can't do this. That's sin. Oh, that's appearance of sin. Then you can't do that. And you put all these restraints on yourself and they become chains. That's what they become. Because based off this mass production of producing a one type of person. And that same concept operates in school. That same concept operates on the job. That same concept operates even in a conscious community. Okay? Not realizing that Christ is all those things. Christ is not just benevolent and just rubbing the lamb head and all this stuff and feeding the birds and all that. Okay? Even though that's benevolent. Christ is all that. Christ also, even as they use scripture, and we know scripture is allegory, they show the representation of Christ telling somebody off, telling Peter to shut up, right? Get behind me, Satan. How can you call your friend Satan? So we know that it's not just this one-sided thing of, oh, I'm shining like a light all over the place. That's, that concept is not reality, okay? Because not all beings are benevolent. Not all beings. I'm not even dealing with malevolent beings. We're going to stay away from that. I'm talking about benevolent beings and neutral beings with benevolent tendencies. So when we come into this mindset of this one mass production of Christ, even in the conscious community, we're trying to force neutral beings to be something within the core of themselves that they are not. Okay, it's not saying they're not Christ, but it's not the Christ that we have built up in our mindset of what we think a Christ consciousness should be. Okay, and so when you have a neutral person, they love, they're not against love and light, but they know it's more to life than love and light. So you'll see them kind of like build up a friction against that kind of conversation all the time. It doesn't mean that they're evil, doesn't even mean that they're malevolent, but they understand that that is not literally possible 100% of the time. Now, to a benevolent being, maybe that is. But a neutral being doesn't know that because they're not a benevolent being. Okay? So a neutral being doesn't know that. Doesn't mean that they're not a god of a goddess. Because gods and goddesses, they have neutral gods and goddesses. Those are neutral deities with benevolent deities. They mind their business. They're not out to save the world. Honestly, they don't even care about all that. They care about Gaia, the being, Because in their mind, they feel like if I help the being that we are on, Gaia herself, then everything that is in line with her will be elevated and be healed also. Whereas a benevolent being may see things totally different. And so a lot of times we have taken on the concepts of the benevolent beings, not realizing that we're building up a conflict within ourselves because we're not really benevolent. And so what happened, you have this, you begin to stand out. And so when you have all these benevolent beings around you, you give off this energy of, um, I'm both. I'm both darkness and light, that I can move in both energies and I don't have an issue of that. And sometimes you give off this impression that you seek after things that are darkness, but you really don't, because you truly understand that both of them are necessary and needed. And that's what brings forward true balance. And that you're not afraid of one or the other. You can move. Now, I'm not saying go move in malevolent stuff. No, I'm saying that you can move in the tendency. You don't have an issue of moving in defensive magic when it comes to saving yourself or saving your loved ones that are with you or around you. You have no issue with that. Whereas benevolent beings may see things a little bit different. And see, I can't speak on a benevolent being mindset because I don't have that mindset, so I can't see how they would think. But as a neutral being, I know how I would think. Okay, and so I'm speaking from a point of a neutral being and how neutral beings feel when they are around only one set or one mindset. And so when a neutral being is around one mindset, especially when their minds can move in both, they have a tendency to try, they're going to say, well, I can fit in so much. I can fit in based off my benevolent tendencies. But it doesn't mean that's how I want to be moving like all the time. I don't want to be moving like that all the time. I'm not looking to go, oh, let me go feed the birds and all that. That's not what I'm looking to do. Sometimes I don't feel like going outside. I know I'm supposed to go outside and take in the rays of Ra, but sometimes I don't feel like going outside. And I get in my car and I say, I love you, Ra. It's good to feel your energy. But guess what? I'm not going to sit outside today because I don't feel like it. And that's just how a neutral being operate. They know what's the right thing to do. They know, okay, I need to be out there doing that. But man, I don't feel like that today. And that's just how neutral beings are. So I'm just saying that this conflict comes because of the mass production that has been given to us. And so we take, even though we're using different concepts in different ways, different concepts, we're not taking on that religious concept. We say we are enlightened now. We are taking on that same structure. We're bringing that same structure into another system. And so we gotta move the same. We gotta think the same. We gotta act the same because we say we all of the same system. We are all of the same tradition. We're all of the same family. We're all of the same tribe. But even in that, there should be some form of diversity. Okay, there should be diversity. Look how beautiful diversity is compared to this. But we have been trained to think we're doing this when we're actually doing this. Because anytime a person does something that we deem in our mind that is not right, we are quick to condemn. We are quick to question. We are quick to say that it's not, that is darkness. We are quick to say things because it doesn't align up with what we think is right. Okay? And a neutral person mindset, to be honest, I would love to join a system. But the first thing that comes to mind in my head is, will I be forced to move like you move? Will I be forced to think like you think? Will I be forced to operate like you operate? I would love to be in a system because I feel like you only can gain so much from books. I would like to actually get into a system and really understand the practice and really practice to learn the foundation. But I don't believe foundation is you walk like I walk, you talk like I talk, you do like I do. And I done been in that kind of situation where I have dealt with that. I have dealt with being a part of a program, not even a program, part of a family, a tribe, where I have dealt with that, where even though we called ourselves pits, prophets in training, I dealt with that, where it's like we walk like this, we talk like this, we move like this, and you don't have that freedom to move like who you are. Meaning, I may see things totally different, and I may say things totally different. You know, when the spirit show me something, I'm gonna say it, and they'll say, "Well, oh, you speaking as someone who's unseasoned because I didn't make it beautiful for the person to hear it." You know, and so it's that thing that a neutral being doesn't like. They don't like that army kind of move where we all wearing the same clothes, we all doing the same thing, we all stepping the same way, we all moving our mind the same way. That's not unity consciousness. That is, I would say, a fake version of what unity really is. Okay, because this is not unity. Okay, this is man-made. This is man-made to make people think that this is how the kingdom moves. This is man-made to make you think that this is how the universe operates. The universe operates more like this: diversity. Even within your tribes, there is diversity. And everybody is accepting. And though in a 3D realm, they are using it in a negative way. And this is not about malevolent and how they're using this same concept in a negative way. Yes, we should have diversity, but it shouldn't be the diversity of what they're trying to propagate and try the agenda they are trying to bring forth on this 3D realm. But we're not worried about that because we are elevated beyond minds. Our consciousness is elevated beyond the 3D. Okay. And so the diversity is something that is missing in the conscious community. Okay. It's something that we personally have to ask ourselves, what kind of being am I? I asked that question because I kept feeling that conflict. And I kept saying, okay, I wasn't going through all this because I done went through some stuff in a matter of 2 weeks. I said I wasn't going through all this when I was working with these beings that people would deem as evil or deem as not so good. I wasn't going through all this. When I was working with the Mother Goddess Hecate, she deals with shadows and transforming those shadows and bringing those shadows to the light. It's not saying that darkness don't move with light. Both they understand, you understand what energy is necessary at the time and what point of your life. So I work with light and dark. So I know I need to go into the darkness to bring it to the light. Okay? That's how I work. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I worked with the Mother Goddess Hecate. I didn't have all this. Okay, actually, I came out of that with a greater knowing of who I am. As I worked with, and I really didn't, I worked with Sekhmet a little while, but she gave me advice. The advice she gave me was enough to get me on my path. And then she went on, the goddess Sekhmet. And then I worked with the deity Set. And I'm like, dang, I ain't went through all this, all these physical things that's going on with my body. I said, I didn't go through all this. So I say, maybe my body is trying to tell me something that maybe you going against yourself, And so, because I said, well, let me go ahead and I have been taking a break from doing my magical practice, So I work with both energies. And when I take my magic book out, it's I'm only working with angels. I don't have those books. I don't have those books that deal with only angels, only demons, only this. I just have a neutral book that work with the energies itself. You can work with any deity. I work with deities that come forth. If that deity comes forth, I do my research on that deity, and then I do some divination to see if this is in accordance with my higher self and my spirit team. My spirit team includes my mother, my spiritual mother, my ancestors, and my spirit guides. And so once I get the okay as a team, then I work with that deity. I don't go and say, well, oh, that deity is this. So I worked with the deity set, and I at times that deity still comes forth, and I learn, and I'm empowered. I did the Cthulhu ritual, and these are the things that some benevolent beings, or they call themselves light workers, wouldn't mess with those kind of beings. Okay, I work with the goddess bats. I work with, and it's not even that long because sometimes I see a cat. I saw a cat, and the cat came forth. I said I need to work with bats. But then another deity came forth, and I wound up working with that deity. I don't work with the deity Lilith. Okay, I've worked with the deity Horus. I worked with Horus, and that one showed up in a dream with it was a tarot card with the Eye of Horus on it. So I knew that that deity was reaching out to me. Okay, I worked with that deity. I worked with the deity Anubis. Anubis is one of the first deities I work with, one of the first. Okay, and so I don't work with one set of deities if I only work with angels. Whatever one that comes forth and it gets the okay from my spirit team, that's who I work with. I work with the archangel. I forgot how to say it. Is that what his name? I don't think his name is Zadkiel or something like that. Zadiek. This archangel deals with magic, and I didn't even know archangels deal with magic. I really didn't. Okay, so I work with that archangel, and I think it's another archangel that was dealing with transformation that I work with. I don't work with the archangel Raphael. Raphael I use for healing. If I need healing, somebody call me and say, "Can you pray for healing?" I'm not gonna say I don't pray anymore. I just say okay, and I go about doing my, because they have given me access. Once you ask me to do something for you, you telling me, I'm giving you access to my life. I'm opening the door for you to come in. When you do that, all my magic is coming in with me. Okay, and so I work with the archangel Raphael for healing of different family members that call me to pray for them. I don't have to go into details how I don't believe in the scriptures the way you believe in them. I don't go to church. The church is a lie. I don't have to do all that. I don't have to go into all that. But I understand as I grow, these things are not necessary for me to still do my work. If you come to me, you already know I'm moving differently. You already know I don't go to church anymore. You know all these things. So when you come to me and say, "Can you pray for me?" You're already expecting everything that comes along with me to come forth to do that. Okay. And so it's about having diversity, even in a conscious community. Okay. And that's the neutral tendency, that's the neutral being with benevolent tendencies. They know the right thing to do. If somebody comes and says, "I need healing," they're not gonna say, "Oh no, I don't heal you. I'm not healing you. You go seek God for yourself." A neutral being doesn't do that. They're gonna feel. They are empaths. They're gonna feel what the person is going through, and that's what caused them to move out and do what they do. But at the same time, they neutral in nature. They don't. They're not looking for no fight. They ain't looking for to do this and save the world. They're not benevolent. Always looking to bring forth encouragement. A neutral being is gonna tell you the truth. A neutral being say, "Look, you kind of brought this on yourself." The neutral being is not going to jump on board with everything. Neutral beings don't do that. They don't jump on board because everybody in the group is jumping on board. And this is the part that makes a neutral being feel uncomfortable, because in their mind, in their eyes, through their clear senses, they can see what's going on. And when they see these things, they can't go beyond what they see. They're gonna see this thing and they were like, "Okay, I'm not getting on board." They are not the ones that's going to they're not going to boycott. They're not going to be the ones out there protesting. Neutral beings don't protest, because unless they see the real root behind it, the real goal, does it have a real benefit, that's when they protest. Neutral beings don't just go protest because everybody else doing it, because it's the right thing to do. That's not how neutral beings think. And so what happens, they get this inner conflict because they like, okay, I'm in this tribe, I'm in this group, I'm a part of this conscious community, and the conscious community say move like this. And neutral beings like, well, my spirit ain't not feeling this thing. I can't move like this because my spirit ain't feeling it. Okay, but when you have everybody want to do the same thing, oh, I gotta move. We gotta move like this. As one, we gotta make this happen. A neutral being looking and saying, okay, my spirit is saying something else. The ancestors are saying something else. I'm not moving. Okay, I'm not going along with what you're saying because if it was something that my ancestors wanted me to do, I'd have been doing it. So this is how a neutral being think, and so it creates this inner conflict where it shouldn't, because if we are moving in diversity, moving like the universe, because we are all source, but we are aspects of source. We are different aspects of source. So you're going to have benevolent aspects, you're going to have neutral aspects, and you're going to have malevolent aspects. Okay? We're going to have all those things. Those neutral beings can move in both, and they know how to move with both energies. Neutral beings know how to do that. And they don't have no guilt for moving with those darker energies. No guilt comes from them when they do that. And so lately I was like, well, I'm not going to be dealing with these these darker energies, you know. And I noticed, I say, man, all this stuff started happening to me, because there is power behind these darker energies. There are. Okay? It's just you don't stay in it. You have to know how to balance these energies out. But I was like, man, maybe I'm moving outside myself. And that's what made me to start really investigating who I am. What do I enjoy doing? You know, I don't get scared when I see a dragon in the clouds. I don't get scared when I see the quantum realm forming a dragon in my trees. Some people would get scared of that kind of stuff. Okay, some people may not like seeing something that's because some of these dragons are not just like, oh, little fairy dragon. No, some of these dragons are huge. Their faces not the kind of faces that would say, oh wow, this look like a fairy. No, these dragons look like they, serious about who they are. Okay, but I don't that don't get me all scared and be like, oh, why that dragon looking at me and stuff. I don't get scared of stuff like that, because as a neutral being, I know all these things exist in Malakut. All these things exist in the kingdom. Okay, and so these beings can kind of show you who you are. Okay, and so they show up. So when they first started showing up, they showed up on these thick clouds because they're easy to notice. Okay, and if you see that being, you can see it. That's easy to notice. Okay, and so they were showing up like this, so I can get my eyes can get used of noticing the different things that's going on with the clouds. These are quantum beings. Okay, quantum is the spirit world. These are spirit world beings. And so some people call them elemental beings. And so they can use the clouds to do these things. But in the beginning, they were using the thicker clouds because, I mean, this is obvious. You can't miss something like that. And so they were teaching me how to notice them in these thick clouds. So when they come forth in thin clouds, when they come forth in these clouds that are not as thick, I can still notice the eyes, the features. And so they were teaching me how to notice these things. I'm passing this on to you. When you start to notice that the clouds look a little different, these pictures can capture this stuff, and then you can go back and really look at it and say, "Oh wow, this is a being inside this cloud." Using this cloud as clothing to show itself. Okay. And then I have another one. And this one, where did they get the black to show their eyes? I don't know. And so if you look at this picture good, you can see a pony is number one. You see the darkness around where their eye is supposed to be? And actually, this one I have number two, that's two beings sitting there. One sitting there, then one sitting above it. Okay. And then you have a third being. And so this is how they were showing themselves at first. I can just be minding my business. And actually, I was taking a picture of the sun and the clouds, but I noticed something was a little bit off. So when I went in on the picture, I said, oh, wow, look at this pony sitting here. And he's, now it's really four beings because I see two. But the number two is that's two beings under that number. And then the third one, okay? So they're just looking. That's what they're doing. Okay. I'm like, they like really keeping an eye on me because I had went on vacation. So they'll follow you all the way on your vacation. Okay. You could be in an airplane. If you take, I done had one where I taken a picture and I'm in my airplane and I can see this space biggest. So I'm looking, I took the picture of the clouds, but then later on when I went in, I'm looking at this face looking right at me while I'm taking the picture. And so they will show up this way, and sometimes they can use the thicker clouds to really make their features strong for you to see them. Okay, but this is an indicator of who you are. This is an indicator of who you are. Okay, what kind of beings are coming forward? Do you see a bunch of fairies? Because they can come in fairy looking ways too, and this will be an indicator of what kind of being you are. And so this is constant with me. Okay, this is if I really take a time out, there's nowhere I'm not gonna go where I'm not gonna take a picture and I'm seeing something like this looking at me. Okay, and sometimes they'll pose for the picture too. Sometimes you can literally see them form their face um, for you. But what happens as we awaken and we become more and more enlightened, and as our chakras begin to really start to flow like they're supposed to freely without being blocked and they're open, this is what creates that diversity. And this is what causes you to stand out. Okay. And so we want diversity. Take the time out. I did divination. I got my family together. I asked, because at first I kind of figured, I said, I think I'm a neutral being, because of the way I act, the way I see things, the way I'm not on board with everything, even if it's right, even if it's benevolent, and I'm not gonna say right, I'm gonna say benevolent. I'm not on board with everything, and that right there is an indicator that I'm a neutral being. And so I said, well, let me go ahead and do some divination. I'm gonna bring my family forth on this thing. And so I got my ancestors to come in, my spirit team to come in, my spirit guides. My spiritual mother came forth, and even my dragon family. I do have a dragon family. And so a lot of those dragons that I be seeing in the clouds is my dragon family. And so I said, well, let me go ahead and bring them forth. And so I did like a little meeting and I did a lot of pendulum work. But one of those questions I did ask is, am I a neutral being with benevolent tendencies? And that pendulum said yes. Okay. And they say, and I also asked, would I take defensive measures if necessary? And the pendulum said yes. Okay, so that's a part of who I am. And so when you start dealing with who you are, there's no amount of programming. Yes, the subconscious takes up 50 to 60% of your mind, but the subconscious was programmed. And so when you start to ask the hard questions, why do I do the same thing I do? Why do I behave the same way I behave? Why do I can be good or benevolent for a little while, but not all the time? Why do I get a little lazy about those things that can raise my consciousness sometimes? Why does these things, why I'm always feeling like I'm fighting against myself? Because you are. Because you're trying to be something you're not. Okay? If you're a neutral being, you have benevolent tendencies. Oh, yes, I meditate. But I meditate with both energies. Okay? I meditate, I link into the darkness of the cosmos, because the cosmos is both. I link into the light of the cosmos. I link into the cosmic intelligence. I link and I tap into that cosmic intelligence within myself. I link into myself. See, that's how I meditate. I don't just be concentrating on light and light and light. I do both because I'm a neutral being with benevolent tendencies. And so this is something that we all have to be honest with ourselves. We have to love who we are and love who we are as a benevolent being, someone who's always, trying to shed and bring forth light. or a neutral being who shed and bring forth light, but also can bring forth correction. Okay, neutral beings, they have no issue with bringing forth correction. They don't care if they hurt your feelings in the beginning because they're looking at the bigger picture. They're looking at, okay, the bigger picture is you're going to see the truth and know, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about. I didn't like how it came forth when you said it in the beginning, but now I see it. Maybe weeks later, they're going to see it. But that's how a neutral being is because they don't like living in a lie. They just don't. Not even for the sake of being benevolent. Okay. And so this is something I had to come to grips with because I was like, something's just not right. The way my body is acting, I didn't go through all this when I was researching the Baphomet. When I was researching on the Baphomet, I ain't go through all this. Look, when I see a picture of this being that's just powerful, but you see dark energy and light energy on it, meaning it can really move in that kind of energy. I wish I'd have pulled up one of those pictures so you can really see what I'm talking about. I could feel the energy and I'd be getting excited. Some people get excited when they see an angel and all the light coming off of that. I mean, that just doesn't do nothing for me because I know who I am. Okay. And so we have to be honest with ourselves because this is the age of Aquarius. And then when we honest with ourselves, then we can see this diversity. Then we can stop seeing the conflict. Ain't no demon fighting you. You fighting yourself. You're fighting yourself. Yes, granted, you will come under attack when you fight yourself because now you're creating an opening. You're creating an opening for malevolent spirits to come in and really beat you up because you're so busy warring with yourself, you're creating holes in your auric field because you're fighting against yourself. And so you create these holes in your auric field and now you really coming under attack for real because now you have created these weak holes in your auric field. And now you do have these malevolent, because I'm not going to sit here and act like malevolent spirits don't exist. They do. Now you're coming under attack, and they use humans to do it. Okay, they use different things in the world to come in, and so now you have given them access, and now you're wondering why you're going through all these things. And so, but it started out spiritual. It started out with you dealing with your own conflict within yourself because you're trying to move in a way that doesn't bring forth 100% of you out. Okay, it's the same with jobs. We stay on the jobs longer than what we really need to. Or even people who doing entrepreneurship. Everybody ain't meant to be entrepreneurs. Some people are actually meant to work for other people. Let's keep it 100 up in here. I'm not gonna go here and be sugarcoat nothing. Everybody ain't meant to be entrepreneurs. Okay, some people are meant to work, build up their money, and do other things that make them happy. But everybody can't deal with being an entrepreneur. Okay, and so we just have to be honest with ourselves in this age of Aquarius. And so back to the spiritual part, am I a benevolent being? Because in church, we all can think about it. That's what they were doing. They were trying to make everybody benevolent. They were trying to make everybody benevolent. And so the person, when they go out to party and then come to church, they feel guilty. How did the pastor know you went out last night? So that's what I'm talking about. Because everybody ain't benevolent. So they're trying to program everybody to think the same, trying to program everybody to do the same, trying to program everybody to operate the same. It's not saying that neutral beings don't show love. They do. Neutral beings show love. They love their grandmother. They love their ancestors. They love their elders. They treat the elders with respect. They're the ones that are walking the elders to the car. And in your mind, you think that's a benevolent being because we've been trained to move all the same way. And then we take that same concept and we bring it in a conscious community and we want us all to move the same way. But consciously, a benevolent person doesn't move like that. They have to be moved to be benevolent. Okay, but other than that, they just neutral. They just here doing their thing, trying to get out the matrix. That's how that's how a neutral person behaves. And then something moves their spirit to be benevolent. And then when they move in that way, and then sometimes the spirit will be on them a lot and they'll just be moving in that way. They might do it for weeks at a time. And then all of a sudden you think that person is benevolent. And then that person backs down that that endowment of benevolence lifts off of them, and then they back to being neutral, and then you think they're moving backwards, not realizing they're just a neutral being with benevolent tendencies. And so these things are things that we need to be thinking about. And I say it would explain a lot because it explained a lot for me. And so when I sat down with my spirit team and I say, okay, that makes sense, because I kind of felt that I was that I was a neutral being. And then now y'all have confirmed it through this pendulum work that I am. And so that explains a lot. That's how sometimes people say, oh, 1 minute you so sweet, you so nice, and the next minute you're so mean. And the only reason why they're saying I'm mean because I'm telling them the truth. And I'm not sugarcoating for them. And so now I'm being mean. But it's not that I'm being mean. I'm just bringing it out based off what I am observing. And so this is something I'm going to just go ahead and leave with every person who listens to this video. I'm going to go ahead and close this video out because it is getting long. I didn't want it to be this long, but I think it is a subject as we are entering into this age of Aquarius to really talk on, because then this will help you and even help me figure out what kind of support team I need. And support team means we all support one another, because now I realize, okay, I am a neutral being. And what I do, I bring a lot of hindrance to myself when I'm completely surrounded around benevolence all the time. Okay. And it's something I had to come to realize. But if I'm in a neutral place around neutral beings and we all move with that benevolent tendency, then we kind of support one another. And I hope what I'm saying, you can see it. Because if you are a benevolent being, but you hanging with neutral beings, it kind of weighs down on your benevolence, because you feel like, I can't move in this benevolent way all the time because I'm around these neutral beings. Let's switch it up now. You got this neutral being that's around all this benevolence all the time. And they in that group or that team or that tribe is moving benevolence, benevolence, benevolence. A neutral being is endowed with that at times, but that's not who they are at their core. Okay. And so it brings away, because they like, I don't want to move like that all the time. Maybe I just want to sit back and be on my lazy boy and just relax sometime. Maybe I may open up my magic book, my 6 ways of magic book, and do some magic, So I think this is an important topic, because we have to, in this age of Aquarius, break out of this programming of making everybody the same, because it is a program. And so we need to break out of this. We want to break out of this. So when we consciously move, and when the mother does come forth and endow more cosmic gifts on us, because that's what the cosmic winds are, the cosmic gifts, we can move in honesty and integrity, because it's in integrity and in honesty that we really move in our gifts and our power. The power operates from the heart space, but the heart space operates from truth. You can't be in your heart space in a lie, because the heart will not let you do it for long. The heart will literally, that's what you're fighting against. The heart will fight you the whole time, saying, no, 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 no. You be who you are. Don't change nothing. Be who you are. And what happened, everything will line up. The universe will align with your true self. It's not going to align with no false self. And so a lot of times, a lot of things don't manifest on a collective level because we're moving in this false version of ourselves. And the universe is pouring out, but it is pouring out on the alignment of who you truly are. So when you stand and you align with your true self, now you reap the benefit of moving and aligning yourself with the universe and those energies that's supposed to move in your life. But when you're operating in a false version of yourself or a partial version of yourself, and I'm not going to say false, I'm going to say partial, because a partial version of yourself, then you're not reaping the benefit of everything that is for you, because those gifts and those powers align with the true version of yourself. And so this programming has to stop. And like I said, it's going to take a while because it's within the subconscious. Okay, but we're going to get through this programming and get out of this programming because we need to be ourselves to really see the power moving us. So if the spirit says, okay, your next, the next path that you need to be on, I need you to do voodoo or do something, some deeper magic. Okay, and if you program to look at these things as evil and as dark, as witchcraft and all this stuff, then you're not in alignment with your higher self. You're not in alignment with the universe. You're not in alignment with the Great Mother. You're not in alignment with the decisions you made when you signed that contract. So of course you're not going to see any blessings come in your life because you're out of alignment. And so it's about being in alignment. And the first step of being in alignment is knowing who you are and being who you are. When you find out who you are, you be it. Not find out who you are and run from it, but find out who you are and be that. Be just that. Because not everybody is benevolent. I know we have been fooled to believe that benevolence is the end of the be all and end all and be all. But that's not what everybody is. Everybody is not benevolent. Okay, let's just keep it 100. And that's why the church is failing today, because the church is trying to make everybody benevolent and everybody is not. And so I'm going to go ahead and end this message. I hope you got something from it. Like I say, like the video. If you enjoyed the video, like and share the video and subscribe. Have a blissful day. Talk to you later.